complicated place, and it seems to feel the same way about me. I think you and I have this in common.
I don't think I've ever had a real family Christmas like this before. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. History is not simply the study of the past, it is an explanation of the present.
See, when you say it that way and throw in some pornography, it's a lot easier to understand.
No matter what you are.
I'd like to propose a toast to my two unlikely companions.
Are you trying to lick down my shirt?
No. Yes. You're gonna get me fired. This is your Rubicon. Do not cross the Rubicon.
The Holdovers.
Hello, I'm Thomas Carruthers.
And I've got a special guest.
Why don't you introduce your special guest like it's show and tell?
My name is Rhian Holmes, and today I'm joined by the incomparable Ruby Wilde.
You love Bo Burnham and you missed the incomparable joke.
Oh, she was incomparable, like a...
It's a very funny joke. I should probably try getting back into Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham was tainted for a while by not like it. I've told you this story that somebody in my vicinity who I held in medium esteem was like a die-hard Bo Burnham fan, and so it's that thing of, it's that thing where okay. Opening tangent, Ruby, have you ever had something that you like be tainted by somebody who you don't like liking that thing? And let's not go dark and because really, I just realized this is just a relationship black hole again. We're just going to end up talking about relationships, but it's beyond that.
Probably. Well, you like me, in
Yeah.
spite of the fact that Tom liked me. That was really difficult to overcome for a while.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again, but slower. I genuinely didn't understand.
That was for the viewers. That one's for the
Well,
fans.
Ruby knows how the show goes. Ruby's listened to every single episode. What's your favorite episode, Ruby?
My favorite episode of all time that I really, really enjoy. It's like the best episode out of all of them. It's the one where you start the podcast and you open up the laptop and then you press the go button and then you go
I start the podcast before I've opened up the laptop.
You started talking in the podcast and you both introduce yourself, and I forgot which one it's called, but you both introduce yourself and then you start talking about this film.
Have you ever had a dream? Have you ever had a dream where you're like in a dream? We're here today to continue and nearly conclude. Me and Jay are having weirdo Tom and Jay corner again for another movie, and me and Will are going to talk about Oppenheimer because after hearing both of your slating reviews of Killers of the Flower Moon, I don't think I'm ready to hear your Oppenheimer takes. But much to my, am I surprised? It's snowing in Ossett.
Oh, that's a good film title.
It's sure. I don't know. Am I surprised or not? Today's movie is The Holdovers, and Ruby and Rhian are here because they both adamantly liked it. We had a couple of slots open, and we were playing around with doing possibly doing past lives. Big hit of the year. I did give it a very good review, but I don't. Maybe on a rewatch, I don't know. But very slow first hour. Anyway, I don't. Let me weigh up whether I actually am surprised or not that you both enjoyed The Holdovers. You more so, Ruby. You more so. I know that I don't think any of you have watched any other Alexander Payne movies, even though Election's great. You both love Election. Election's wonderful, especially Rhian. But I know that you haven't watched The Descendants. George Clooney's wife's in a coma. Did either of you watch Downsizing?
No, but my mum and sister watched it on a plane next to me and were like literally crying, laughing.
Yeah, it's underrated. Good movie. Anyway, this is all Alexander Payne. And Sideways, Paul Giamatti drinking wine.
Mm.
Anyway, it's okay. So I knew peripherally that none of you would watch any Alexander Payne movies. If I also, perhaps cynically, thought if I'd said to you before, oh, my favorite film of the year is about a curmudgeonly Greek teacher in a 70s boarding school, and it's like made as if it was from 1973, and it has that aesthetic, and it's sort of kind of funny, and everybody's sad and lonely. That, to me, perhaps cynically, is the sort of film that I feel Ruby, with her jibing and japing jocular manner, would be like, oh, how exciting, or something. And then, to my surprise, you both liked it a lot. I should have remembered that Dominic Sessa is fully Rhian's type.
We we covered this at length.
After
during the
Googling
watch.
his age.
Yeah. He's 21. He's 21.
It's something that somebody would know if they. I didn't actually Google his age, but I wanted to trap you.
And I am this as at the time of filming the sprightly age of 18 and a half. No, we actually two things on that. We watched the film, and there were three older boys that myself, Ruby, and our other flatmate Bella all said, okay, these are our three types. You had the hippie with the long hair. You had like the
Mary the cook and Paul Giamatti.
The short king bad boy, and then you had curly-haired, gangly man with a lot.
Who was the? I made a great joke about Paul Giamatti and Mary. So what? Sorry, short king. So you're talking about the bully?
Yeah, that's
Who's
type.
Well, and no judgment here on the podcast. That's our one rule, Ruby. Why is it you fancied the little Korean boy?
No.
Sorry, I misheard you. What did you? What? Who? Oh, the hippie who then shaves his hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
The soup man.
So.
Oh yes, my other point.
Oh, go on. Yeah.
To your point about, if you had pitched this, would we have really gone for it? You may not know this, obsessed with like Dead Poets Society. I'm also obsessed with, this is going to go over a lot of people's heads, but I'm going to say it anyway.
House of Anubis.
No, I'm obsessed with the Marauders era of Harry Potter that focuses on Harry's father and his three friends, and it is entirely like, none of it is written by J.K. Rowling herself. It is entirely like
Call it what it is. Fan fiction.
It's fan fiction, okay? Sue me.
Are these is this the era that's being added to the concert on Disney Plus? Are these the extra songs, the extra Marauders era?
No, it's so extrapolated from the original franchise, because everyone just like took this idea of like, boys like glam rock 70s boarding school and just ran with it. So anything that kind of feels akin to that, I'm like, sign me up. And this didn't disappoint in that way.
I was going to say, I'm going to put a time restraint on you because you've put a time restraint on me. You like boarding school movies. Thank you, Rhian. And no,
I haven't put a time restraint on you.
Well, you are, because we're trying to do this in 2 blocks, and we lose Sweet Ruby in 44 minutes. Anyway, right. The Holdovers. General talk. Alexander Payne had this idea about the holdovers and being kept over Christmas. He then met up with a writer named David Hemmingson, who'd written a pilot for a show that would be set in a boarding school in 1980. They then come together. Alexander Payne hires him to develop the script, and we get the Holdovers. And he comes with the idea of this curmudgeonly professor, and it all comes into conflation in a lovely idea. They play around with eras. They don't want to do 1980. They choose 1970 because, on the Dead Poets Society point, they feel like Dead Poets Society owns the 50s. and in that turn owns the 60s, and that you're never going to really make a boarding school movie of that caliber without people immediately thinking of Dead Poets Society. Without revealing too much about well, everybody knows Dead Poets Society. Well, no, actually, I don't think everybody does. Sorry, Ruby. Then I'll talk broadly. Very similar in the sense of A-star performance from an older character actor, lots of new young talent, lots of sad parts, lots of happy parts. Everybody has a good old fun time. It ends in the snow, and everybody's learned a lesson. And it ends on a big sorry, Ruby. It ends on a big sacrifice, shall we say? Well, no, you know how it ends, presumably. So you have no like even osmosis.
No idea what Dead Poet Society is about.
I've shielded her from so many.
If I said the phrase, "my captain," what does that do for you? Wow, what a sentence!
Is that doing it for you?
Yeah, yeah. If I said,
no, maybe I do know. I do know. I don't know. I like to stand up.
Yeah, that's yeah. So you do. So
I have
you
no
do.
idea what context.
Who is the captain?
Who is the
I
captain?
don't know.
There's a rat infestation. They all jump up on the chairs. Also been widely talked about. Dominic Sessa is a complete unknown, and he simply was at the college where they chose to film, and got into one of the auditions. And you know, it's one of those great fairy tale stories that us actors hear so often about. And
yeah, that did kind of boil my blood a little bit. I read somewhere that it was like a Troy Bolton type ascension to fame. He was like an athlete. He was in like one of the sports programs, and then was like, "Oh, I guess I'll give acting a crack." Immediately in the Oscar race.
What's his sport?
I didn't get that far.
Because he's tall.
What would we guess his sport is? And
He's tall. He's got that basketball height.
Yeah.
Maybe
Could be a wrestler. Anyway, you say he's in the Oscar race, but obviously we're Kasayasa, be with me. Anyway, he was in the Oscar race, Rhian, but obviously we're recording this after nominations, and wah wah. Him and our darling boy Charles Melton, the two best supporting performances of the year, got wah wah nothing.
Wait, what?
He didn't get nominated, Ruby.
Oh, right.
I mean, it's on for best picture, but
yes,
yeah,
best picture.
And the thing is, like, we can obviously talk about this at length, but I feel like this is not gonna get best picture.
No,
like it's just too stacked.
It's too stacked, and it's also. I mean, it's not like Oppenheimer is. If it was Killers of the Flower Moon versus Holdovers, then you'd get a lot of people who are like, it's really heavy. I'm not saying Oppenheimer's not heavy, but like Oppenheimer flies by. Oh, these are famous last words because you're going to watch it next Sunday and be like, it's too boring. But it has behind it. It has the coda thing. It has the Green Book thing of it's incredibly likable. And I haven't met anybody as of yet who hasn't just loved it. It's a very easy film to love, to enjoy, and not feel like it's a light, just comedy thing that can be thrown away in the Oscar view. It has a lot of drama in it, lots of three incredible performances, and it's just a perfect meal. It feels like your five a day. There's three perfect performances that slide very easily into the five. Slide very easily into three of the Oscar races. It's got a great screenplay. It's very well directed by a returning director who the Academy already love, and it's got a bit of drama. It's got a bit of sadness, and also it's got a lot of humor. And it feels like those movies of yesteryear that so many Academy voters long to be back. Or not even Academy voters. So when I like to ask this, when did the Holdovers grab you? Because your immediate response to me, Rhian, was, "Oh yeah, it was wonderful." But when did that when did you get on the side of the Holdovers? When were you like, oh no, this is going to be one of my films of the year, I think?
That's a good question. I mean, I liked the kind of setup, like the exposition of, here are all of our kooky ensemble. Like you've got the young kids, like the Mormon, the exchange student. And so with that introduction, it was like, okay, this is going to be fun. Like, there's going to be like a lot of, it's like you said, it's going to be an easy comedy with this kooky cast of boys. But then I think the
But
turning
it
point,
isn't long before that completely is taken away
exactly,
from us.
the turning point of, oh, and now they've all been taken on a chopper off to skiing paradise, and just Tully is left. I think all three of us did an audible, like, oh no! Like, we were so invested by just that early point that suddenly we were like, genuinely, what is he gonna do?
I'm going to be boring and cynical. Love this film. Think it's perfect 2 hours 13. I don't think I would cut anything. But it's a very, very easy cut, screenplay wise and tightening wise, to just have them all leave straight away. Why do you think the choice is made to add 20 minutes, a great 20 minutes, but why do you think the choice is made to have this weird sort of speed bump and not just go straight to, Angus, Paul, and Mary? What do you think, Ruby? Bit like I'm on question time.
Well, I do think it's kind of like there's thoughts up here, but they're not coming out here. I think if it was just one holdover, it would be a bit like, oh, well, I guess we know where this is going. Like,
You have to get
you
like,
have to have. Just watching my wall.
okay.
You have to have the sort of, oh look, they're all together and like they're all cynical, but they're all abandoned by their parents.
They're gonna make the best.
But they're gonna make the best of it. But it's like it just adds a layer when it's like we've called your parents like 6 times, they're not answering. Everybody else's are. Like even if everybody else has been left over to hold over, they still answer the phone to be like, yeah, you can go skiing. But he's like completely left.
Absolute horrible mother. I mean, she's up there now. Sorry, Ruby. She's up there with Neil's dad in Dead Poet Society of like needlessly cruel, needlessly horrible.
Yeah.
Neil.
Yes, but not 100%.
Not 100%,
Like,
no, of course. She's been through a lot.
Yes, bad, but like she's not the worst person in the world. Like she's obviously got some shit, but like she's not dealing with it well.
For sure. I think like the
Honeymooning.
the more you see of her, the more it becomes kind of like multifaceted. But I think that initial phone call of like, this is really important to me and us.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be here by myself.
You know, we haven't had time for a honeymoon yet. You've done just go in January. The wonderful Gillian Vigman, who, of course, won the Thomas Carruthers Award if it was available in 2008 for her Best Supporting Actress role as Pam in Step Brothers. Are you saying Pan or Pam? What's your name? Very good. Rhian, you love Rocket Man. Did you notice that Tate Donovan was Angus's stepdad, who you may know as the owner of that one bar where they do Crocodile Rock?
Oh, of course. The synapses are firing. No, I didn't notice that, but I thought, yeah, great job as unlikable stepdad at every beat.
I'm being very facetious because obviously they're a lot as complex as the rest of the characters, and they're not easily hateable or anything like that. But it's believable enough what they've done without bordering on cartoonish villainy, and it's believable enough to hate them, while still understand what's occurred. Let's talk about I don't think he's going to win. But let's talk about the wonderful Paul Giamatti as Paul Hunter. Why begin? Will you start? Why are you hearting the wonderful Paul Hunham?
Because he's such a 3D character. Like, he's awful. He's a nasty teacher. I would hate him. But like,
Is he awful? I'm sorry, maybe a nasty teacher, but the word awful.
all right, he's not awful. He's annoying as a teacher. I'd be pissed.
Oh yeah.
But like, what I love a character development. Love it, love it, love it. Like,
I want to put a pin in that. Does he develop at all?
yes,
Because
yes.
from calling them all degenerates and like not wanting to hear about any of their struggles and just assuming that they all come from privilege, to realizing that okay, that's not synonymous with like having an easy life. And
If he
then
was allowed to still teach, he would still be the exact same teacher.
well, that's not like, but that's not his entire life. And I suppose that's the point. Is like he goes from someone who's very comfortable just sticking with things as they are, like being a traditional person and
Solitary.
yeah, in solitude. No, I that is an interesting point of like if he hadn't been like forced out, would
But
he
he
have like
didn't. He made the choice to leave.
yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's like he's not going to continue because he'd rather stand up for one of these kids, which he wouldn't have done at the beginning of the film. Never, like, ever.
Yeah.
But he gets to know them. You know, he has great admiration, if anything, for Angus above all else. I think I'm being blunt in the sense of I don't think I just mean in the sense of I don't think if he did continue teaching, anything would have changed in his actual manner. And
I do think it's one of those things as well, like that reinforced that it should have like been just the one holdover. Like I think in the longevity of it, like it couldn't have really worked with all of them staying behind because realistically, he wouldn't have grown to love all of them. He probably would have been like, "Oh yeah, that Coons guy's still a little asshole," but like the rest of them are okay.
well, The Rewatchables is a great podcast, and one of their great things that they brought up on the Dead Poets Society one was, what about his other classes? Was he like this instrumental and loving about the rest of his other classes? But
I'd like to think that he wasn't, and that like they'd be in like remedial English, looking out the window. It's like, oh, he's taking him outside to kick a ball around. He's just taking him walking around the quad, and we've got like 6 pages of homework to do.
I'm on imdb.com, and it's just come up about two actors hosting an event for the Holdovers. The wonderful Bob Odenkirk and one of our favorites, Laura Dern. I think in many ways this is a Paul Giamatti. It's to come in an Oscar season with this and American Fiction, where it's not that Paul Giamatti and Jeffrey Wright aren't hugely celebrated actors in their field, but they are. I don't know if you showed my mum she'd probably know Paul Giamatti, but like it feels like a homecoming. It feels like this is well, no, because Paul Giamatti's had leads before, but he got snubbed for Sideways. I think well, we all go back to the same point that we always make, is that the idea that we don't make films like this anymore, and the fact that this feels so very very much like it's made in the 70s. I mean, I'm quite cynical about this, but a lot of movies recently and before have been using the old 70s or 60s or 80s Universal logos or Orion logo or stuff like that. Joker, I'll talk about Joker mainly, in that they used the 70s Warner Brothers logo to set the scene and then was shot and made exactly like a movie from 2016. So whereas this, I feel, and it was those early fades, and I thought, oh no, I could completely believe, filmmaking wise, writing wise, the snap zooms, all sorts, that this could fall very easily into that Hal Ashby canon of Harold and Maude, The Last Detail, all those movies that influenced Alexander Payne so much, and he's now sort of come full circle. And pardon me. This has a lot in common with The Last Detail. The Last Detail is a great film, Jack Nicholson, and it is very similar in the sense of it's got that, curmudgeonly people, and they've got to meet somebody, and then they all learn, and then they all go on a road trip, and it's all wonderful. But it has a lot more of it.
Is curmudgeonly, if you didn't catch that at home.
Stop mocking me for saying curmudgeonly.
No, it's great. I love the word.
Just going back to your point. So bad. What the hell?
I just spilled my tea and my Earl Grey little.
Oh, no. Ruby's tea bags have affirmations on the tag. Does yours?
Yes. Forest Alliance certified. Gonna be a good day.
Don't drop your string in the cup.
Yeah. Sorry, it's enough about Ruby's tea bags. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, just in that 70s style, like when we watched the trailer, that was the first thing that hit us. Even that was edited in such a way that it was like, oh my gosh, this feels like an old film.
It's old school.
Every year at Barton Academy, 5 students are kept over. When did you watch? Did you watch the trailer before watching the film?
Yeah.
Is that a thing you do?
It's not a thing I do so much, but when we were deciding like which Oscars
I
to
like
get
to
through.
watch a trailer before I watch a film. I want to know if it's worth watching.
Okay, but right. For the rest of this 2023 exercise, like for May, December, don't watch a trailer. You have an incredible privilege. You're like my dad. He's always like, what's it like? We've scheduled in that as a family, we're going to watch a film that night. And he's like, oh, what's it about? It's like, you have an incredible privilege to go into a film that, like I'm telling you, is a great, and I know you're going to go, ooh, is he like all the other movies that suck ass or whatever. But it's like, you have an incredible privilege to go into a film knowing absolutely nothing apart from that somebody that you don't laugh, somebody whose opinion you trust, thinks that it's good.
Well,
I wish I could do that. Do you know how many times I watched the trailer for Argyle? Do you know how many times I watched the trailer for The Iron Claw and Wicked Little Letters? I know all these. Oh, Argyle, it's atrocious. But sorry, Ruby, go on.
I'm confused. You watch the trailers before you watch a film.
No. I watch.
And you're like, I wish I didn't. Just don't then.
I go to the cinema. I go to the cinema alone all the time. This is my life, Ruby. I watch 3 movies in a day, and if they're all rated the same, it's the same trailer package, and it's always Agent Argyle. I've never wanted to kill a woman in my life, but I wanted to kill Dua Lipa. It's Agent Argyle. Oh, a little help here. I know the entire trailer beat by beat, and then we can go on together with suspicious minds.
I will say there is a difference between watching the trailer for something and just having like a short synopsis, which I feel I need going.
But a Notes and a Scandal, you just got fucked on the synopsis.
But you kind of like.
I didn't tell you anything about the big thing.
No, I knew what it was going to be.
Because of the synopsis.
Well, no, because I read the synopsis and I was like, I don't think this is accurate, and you said no, it isn't. So I knew that going in.
Anyway. We only have. Go on.
It's a fun gimmick to kind of go in completely blind to certain films, but I think it's nice as well, like knowing at least like the vibe of what you're in for.
Here's the opposite end of that. I watched a film without watching the trailer. Worst decision of my life. Society of the Snow. Horrible. I saw the front picture. I read the one line. An uplifting true story about people like coming together, they labeled it. I saw the picture. I went, I'm not going to watch the trailer. I'll just watch the film. Horrible.
A harrowing time. I had to finish it by myself.
I couldn't watch the rest of that.
There is also the other point of not to be cynical and boring. Although there are shifts along the way, and I didn't actually see the dad thing coming. We know how this is going to end.
People watching the podcast, spoiled.
But we spoil all of the films on the podcast. You know this, Ruby. You listen to every episode. Stop pretending like you don't listen to every episode.
No, I see what you mean. Like
Yeah.
with the holdovers, it's digestible. You know, at least like how it's gonna shake out. But it was nice in that sense of like, okay, yeah, I know that it's gonna end with the two of them understanding each other a little bit more, and like you said, maybe a sacrifice is made for like the good of everybody. But at the same time, even I was watching it, like, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off in a believable way. Like, I don't know how they're gonna warm to each other
Yeah.
from like these like polar opposite ends of the spectrum. And so even like in that, the journey of it, I still really enjoyed.
We're going to spend 6 minutes and 56 seconds now discussing the third part of this wonderful trio. And then I'm very solemn with this snow at my window. It's very beautiful. I keep looking off and it's very lovely. And I then want to spend our second part talking about the Holdovers, talking about just the incredible depiction of loneliness and misery, which is the film's strongest element. The wonderful Divine Joan Randolph, who I could be wrong, is going to win the Oscar. And she's won a lot of the precursors, and I think it's a locked up deal. She has lots of funny stuff. She has a big sad scene. It's the kind of perfect best supporting performance wrap up that you can imagine. And also there is the go on.
I'd be very happy to see her take it home. And I mean, I say that as someone who's not seen the likes of who else could even be up for
The
it?
Idol. Oh wait. Oh, I thought you were talking about the rest of Divine Joan Randolph's career. Did you watch The Idol?
God, no.
Bad. Very bad.
No,
also,
thank
you watched all of Euphoria and were like, great.
Addendum, I watched all of Euphoria, and then season 2 came around, and I was like,
Idol.
yeah.
That I have heard nothing good about.
Oh,
Even
no, it's not good.
Regret it. No, but like Euphoria did have a decline from season 2. Story-wise, like they just didn't know. I mean, I think a lot of it was rewrites, like because the cast weren't happy with the original scenes, and so like the plot just kind of like fell apart.
Yeah.
And then it became like it was gratuitous, and I think it also spanned like the end of my teen years to like the beginning of my 20s, where I realized like, oh, why am I watching like kids in their senior year of high school throwing it down on
You don't have to
webcam?
worry about that, of course, because in the next series they're all going to be 40.
Literally, Jacob Elordi was like, "You're gonna have to CGI me or something, because this is like diabolical."
4 minutes. Thank you for talking about Euphoria. 4 minutes 40 on Divine Joan Randolph. Do you watch Only Murders in the Building?
No.
She's wonderful. Anyway, she's very good with it. Anyway, I think she's sublime. She's just so warm and loving, and again, I don't want to spend 4 minutes on the same sort of arguments that swamp all these things, but I think her incredible tenderness in her portrayal, and I think David Hemingson's very touching writing that never once leans into the sort of melodramatic monologuing that could overswamp a film like this, removes any criticism of Hemingson, a white man writing, just not shoehorning in. But I feel like some people could say, oh well, he shoehorned in this element to make it a bit more friendly to a modern audience. But I think her efficiency in writing it and touchingness in writing it, the perfect way that she slides into this trio. And I know that she is billed third, and I know that she is like the third part to the side. And if Paul Giamatti has a half, and Dominic, anyway, whatever the graph is, I do feel her loss in the when she goes and stays with her sister. And I know that we need that time to be more focused with Paul and Angus, and to have Angus go to Boston and give his dad level up. You got a snow globe, and for the weapon for his fight later. But I did feel she has such an incredible presence in the earlier parts of the film that I did feel her missing.
Yeah, I agree. I think she, like you say, she slotted into that trio in a very seamless way, even though it was supposed to be kind of like a ragtag group of very different people from different backgrounds. I think as well what you're saying about over swamping, like the fact that like her monologue is so political, like, and still relevant today, like, but it didn't feel like preachy. It didn't feel like, oh yeah, we want to make this statement, and so we're gonna have this character say it. It felt still, like you said, so tender, so truthful to her experience as a mother, but also like mirroring the experiences of so many mothers, like in America, with this broken system.
And we'll talk about it more in the second half when we have Tom's loneliness hour. But just realistic grief, and you know how she devolves in the Christmas party. For me, one of the standout sequences of the year, and not just because of the basic, lonely boy Tom twist, but it really, really realistic unfolding. And you've got what's the name? The Danny, the guy who works, who also works, who again you could see in a larger draft, or if this was a bullshit TV show. I'm so happy that this is a film. There's so many so many films this Oscar season where I feel, touch wood, that the tide has turned. I've said time and time again how I watch most of these limited series. I'm currently in the middle of Night Country, and I'm like, it could have been a film. Well, I could be wrong. They might pull it off. Anyway, we're going to take our first break and only break in discussing the holdovers. Ruby, will you be gone? No. Okay. Well,
She persists.
My laptop is there. I can just get it.
a helicopter. She's got a helicopter waiting for her. We'll be back to discuss the rest of the holdovers. And we're back, and we're saying goodbye to Miss Ruby Wild. Ruby Wild, what are your final thoughts on the holdovers, and how do you wish to leave us?
Love the holdovers. Right, my Oscar winners. The one I've liked the most out of the ones I've seen thus far.
You haven't watched May December yet, the film of the year.
That's not nominated.
For best picture.
For best picture.
Leave.
Big love to holdovers. I hope they win some stuff.
And they will win Best Supporting Actress. Let's do this. Oh, okay. Let's do Oscar talk. I think Oppenheimer's a lock. I think Oppenheimer's a lock for best film. I think Killian's going to take it over Paul, but that is the race. I'm sorry, Bradley. I'm sorry, Bradley. I really am. But I don't think it's going to happen for
we
you.
don't have time to touch on your thoughts on Maestro.
Ruby.
I'm sure you love it.
See, this is what I thought you'd say about holdovers. So what's the difference? Why? Okay.
Because this is like about characters and human connection, and like but Maestro doesn't do that. Maestro feels more like I live my life, but I'm great at music.
I don't think his biggest issue is his love for music.
It's code. Can we introduce this as a segment? Everyone that comes on the pod has to do their best Leonard Bernstein, Bradley Cooper impression.
It's the moment I've been waiting for my entire life. But Ruby, to be
conducting to do this one scene, so everybody thinks, wow, he's such a good conductor.
That's not good, Ruby. I'm sorry. In the first segment of this, second segment, But can you do a Felicia Montenegro?
Darling, darling.
Darling, please, sit down. This is what adults do.
I love you so much. I'll give up everything for you. Even I have my own whole career, but we'll never touch on it.
Stop saying it like it's a plot hole when it's her fucking life. Can we stop this? This is like when Wolf of Wall Street people are like, oh yeah, a bit long near the end. Like he got arrested. I had a fucking conversation with somebody where they were like, yeah, it got really boring at the end. I thought like something more interesting would happen. He just went to prison. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's the same with this. I'm sorry to be rude. And it's the same with Killers of the Flower Moon. Did you want? I'm coming for you, Ernest. You know what did you expect?
No, obviously not. I know it was kind of held back by, well, real history, and wanting to like be authentic, but
It's all right. You don't have to go on the record.
Him at the interrogation table.
We didn't. No, I agree. We didn't need an hour because we didn't have one. Stop over exaggerating. Anyway, it's okay. It's okay. Doesn't bother me. It upsets me, but it doesn't bother me.
At the cameras.
It does. Oh, I could do more Maestro. No. We're talking about the Holdovers. But it is wonderful. Let's talk about loneliness and misery. One of the prevailing themes of.
Do you need me to leave your now home office?
Unless you.
I'm going to be doing my work in the corner. I don't mind.
Okay.
Okay, Ruby's going to go Blair Witch Project and sit in the corner. Are you happy with me, Rhian? I've really gotten into teas recently. This is peppermint.
Oh, very nice. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't a herbal tea girl until I lived with this one,
Mm.
and now I love a green tea.
This is a true story. Hopefully she's not listening. But I didn't attempt veganism when I was burgeoning on a relationship with a vegan woman. But I did, the minute I left that relationship, have to eat. There was a market stall for the dog food I sell. And the only food available was a tofu fish stand called Saving Nemo. And I just want to, and I literally, I think it might be the most disgusting thing I've ever had in my life. Battered.
I thought this was like the beginning of your vegetarian journey.
If anything, it's made me hate you all more. The fact that
tofu is hit and miss. Tofu is hit and miss.
It's going to be cooked well.
It's going to be cooked well. It's going to be seasoned appropriately. And the thing is, as well, it doesn't masquerade itself as any other.
It's not meat. It's tofu.
Yeah, it's its own entity. It's not pretending to be chicken. It's not pretending to be fish.
Well, this was pretending to be fish. This was battered tofu fish. This was battered tofu fish. And to be frank, it was the most. It was. I don't spit out food often, but then I immediately got myself a tiramisu to cleanse my palate.
Well, brilliant. You've just slated this small business to your ones of fans. Great name.
We're up to 80 now. This this modern movie gambit is working. Who knew?
I'm not.
We have another guest.
Bella! Bella, do you want to come and say hello and say 2 minutes on the Holdovers?
No time. We can cut around this.
I won't be cutting around this. I can pause. And we're back. I was hating veganism or something. Let's talk about the film. We're here to talk about the Holdovers. One of the prevailing things of my movie-going life, my writing, everything, and I think, and as I infamously say, I say this so much that an ex, the big X, called it out. Say that again.
Don't be mean.
Called it out once, and because I often say, and apparently infamously so, I say that loneliness is the biggest fear of all, and that all other fears are just a symptom of loneliness, which I do believe. But apparently I say that so often that I said this to to the boat girl, the boat woman, and she was like, "If you say that loneliness thing again, it's not true." But it is. Loneliness is the worst.
And then she left.
Yeah, well, for the first time. Um, Loneliness is the only it's unparalleled, and it's seasons like winter and Christmas that heighten everything tenfold, and that's obviously what this movie encapsulates so beautifully and puts in their twist of the knife. The big reveal that the lovely, beautiful teacher who stays over at Christmas and invites them to the party isn't actually hitting on him, and we have I
I've never been angrier at a woman who did nothing wrong.
yeah
I know what it's like to be an incel in that moment.
I yeah no I think this movie does an incredible job. Just the opening alone, the winterness of it all, and that beautiful song "Silver Joy," which isn't actually an anachronistic song. It's a modern song that they use, but it feels so perfectly off the piece. And I just think it does such a beautiful job at emulating loneliness and misery and isolation. What did you think, Rhian?
No, I agree. I think they do so well to show us, not tell us about loneliness, specifically with Paul Giamatti. Like he's a man so content in his little bubble and so stuck in his ways, on the surface at least. And like you don't need the kind of like crying monologue of like, oh, but the days and the nights, and like you don't need any of that because you just have like I mean, you've got like moments with those around him, with Miss Claire, and trying to kind of just crack that nut a little bit. Like,
Well, the great horror of loneliness, and especially at winter, is the pained acceptance that so many of us just come to terms with. And that's what this film best reflects is that well, I mean, he says it, like I see life as a henhouse ladder, shitty and short, and it feels very much the same way about me. And I feel like we're similar in that respect. And yeah, I don't know. The ending is a hopeful one in some ways, but
I think it's incredibly hopeful,
do you think
because
he's quitting booze? Because I thought that apparently that this is up for debate, but like I thought him spitting out the brandy was just like a fuck you. I don't think he's quitting
oh yeah,
booze.
no, I think it's like because the brandy was meant to be like a symbol of like status and wealth, and it's
Hmm.
him being like, I don't care about these kind of things. I've never valued what you, the principal, and you, these white collar assholes, have always held in such high esteem. Like, because there was a second I was like, oh no, he's gonna drink and drive. That's not the ending we want.
But
Um,
also, they've been drinking and driving this whole time because it's 1973.
yeah, I guess. But no, yeah, I thought it was I thought it was the perfect ending because it was like he's given this young kid like a better shot at like the life that he could have had very easily. But at the same time, like he is now beginning this next chapter of his life. Yes, he's been forced out of his kind of comfort zone, but you know as as Mary put it, it was like you can't even dream a full dream, can you? Oh, I love it, I love it. um and like this is him taking life by the balls. And okay, maybe he won't go to all the places on the map that he's like, okay, yeah, like, is it realistic that yeah, he does go and travel the entire world? Probably not, but it's a start. It's getting off of campus, it's seeing the world like beyond the threshold that he's like built for himself.
Hmm. Let's talk about. What do you want to talk about next? Because we talked a lot about the arc of Paul. Should we talk about the arc of Angus and his father? Did this work for you? I mean, obviously it did. It was very, very good.
Well, don't speak for me. No, I'm joking. I really liked it. It was another kind of cog in like setting up attitudes of the 70s and like this really difficult thing to reconcile. Like, I mean, whether Angus's dad was like a vet or not, I can't remember if that's mentioned.
No, they don't. No, they don't allude to that. I think
But like, but it,
he's just by serious bipolarism,
yeah, but it was still like an
paranoid
epidemic
schizophrenia.
that people didn't really fully
No, they didn't
understand.
know how to medicate, how to professionally
Right.
discuss it. Now,
Exactly. And like with the Librium scene as well, like no one wants to talk about depression in the same way that they do
Mm.
now, even though it's so universally felt and like they're literally on the
Mm.
same prescription. And so it was little nods like that that felt really like ingrained in the time period, but also like you can still feel the effects of like stigma and stuff now.
And on it, I don't know whether just the overall aura uh, of the film and the aesthetic of the film it led me to ask less questions, but it's a low blow to call out Saltburn again. But like when the I knew from the very off that he must have been well off and all this, he was lying about his family. I completely believed that his dad was dead this entire
Oh yeah.
until I'm going to see my dad. And then I was like, oh, he's still alive. He's in prison, or there's something wrong.
Well, yeah, no, even before that kind of fade transition where he's like, of course we can go to a cemetery. I
Of
was
course, we can go to a cemetery. That's the sort of thing everybody loves to say. Oh, your penis cancer. Yeah, give Paul Giamatti the Oscar. But for me, it's those little moments of like
yeah,
he's genuinely out of
it's
breath, and he's just like, of course, we can go to a cemetery.
yeah,
And the
it's
yeah,
tenderness and also like I it's the disbelief of like, okay, I'm a hard ass, but I'm not a monster. You know, it's like that's so truthful, like portrayal of just like an older intellectual or an older like mentor figure who's just like I I'm exasperated with you people, but I'm not like I'm by no means like a bad guy, you know.
just like Barbara in Nuts for a Scandal.
And do you know we mentioned this before. He reminded us, not in all ways, but in a lot of ways, of our shared drama school professor. We wouldn't tell him this because I feel like he would go jump straight to the hyperhidrosis and the fish smell of it all. But like just in the way of like he's he's very I mean he's a genius and he does lord it over people, but also like when you think you've got him figured out, you think like it'd be so easy to just like slate him or slag him off. Then
Like,
he really like he always surprises you with like just genuine compassion and like it
yeah.
transcends like the teacher student relationship of like I know better. It's always like, oh, let
That's
me
hyper intelligence is a curse. It's like yeah, the great scene in broadcast news. It must be so wonderful knowing everything all the time. And she goes, "No, it's awful." I'm paraphrasing. I think I've got it the wrong way around. She's like,
I'm
"No,
not sure.
no, it's Holly Hunter," and she sounds just like that. Anyway, like I'll make it about me. People always talk about like, oh yeah, oh, I wish I'd seen all the films you've seen. No, it's no good. What's the point in seeing a film and then being like, oh yeah, no, I love the Election and the Descendants. Yeah, I haven't seen them. It's quite sad, really. I, or like all the anyway.
You just need
Uh,
to meet another movie. You need to meet another movie savant, um, who you can just have that like back and forth with.
but I love showing
Yeah.
people new things.
Well, I mean, they're not gonna watch everything you've watched, so there's always that opportunity. But yeah, I think you need someone who at least like is in that world.
I'm rewatching Mad Men, and I think Mad Men now is a clincher on my dating
You've seen Mad
profile.
Men.
um, you're so clever. Oh, did you wait? Do you like Glee? Did you Ooh, could we do a roast? Whose birthday's coming up? Can we do a big roast? Because I just had a really good joke, but I don't want to waste it.
Ace's birthday's coming up. You can do the roast at Oscar night.
Could do, yeah. Could have some material. The
You're
Oscar night roast.
gonna turn into the roast of Thomas Carruthers.
That's fine. I can take this is well, it's a great lesson of life, isn't it? Learning to take bullshit. I yes, no, I very much enjoyed the holdovers. I was there a reticence? Sorry. So is this your top of the year thus far? Having what have you yet to see?
Yes.
You've yet to see Oppenheimer, but it's not gonna
Yeah,
top your
yet to
list.
see Anatomy of a Fall. I'm really excited about American Fiction. I feel like that is gonna do it for me. I've yet to see Zone of Interest, Poor Things, and Past Lives.
And May December.
Oh yeah, okay. We're talking about Best Picture here, all right?
Leave
Stop trying to like bring your weird friend over to like Christmas
It's-
dinner.
critically acclaimed Oscar winner, Oscar nominee, Todd Haynes is
Also, like
not.
I know what's gonna happen, which is why I'm not going on the episode for it. I'm gonna talk about the critical reception, and you're gonna say people care too much about political correctness. May December.
Me and Jazz have already done it, and
No,
I
I know.
talked about everything. What do you mean critical? Oh, are you talking about people saying it's not right to make the film?
Yeah, because the
Well,
guy
they
is just
haven't
like
watched
out
the
here
film.
living his life, and he's like, I didn't like you didn't
God,
come and talk to me about this movie.
it's not him. It's just not him. So we need to really, really. Everybody can
I will
listen to
watch.
the
I
show.
will watch the episode. I will watch it. I'm sure
Um,
Jazz fights my corner gallantly and beautifully.
she doesn't. She's with me, as any sane person would be. Anyway, it doesn't bother me. I have gotten to a point though where, yeah, the critical opinion around May December, a movie entirely about the the horridness of these grave robbing biopics, and that's the whole point. And to say that it's a grave robbing biopic is futile. Anyway, and the Killers of the Flower Moon criticism is starting to genuinely upset me, and I know that's a pathetic thing to say. There are horrible things going on in this world and terrible things in my life. But it does genuinely upset me now when people say that Killers of the Flower Moon is too long or is told from the white person's perspective or all this. I can't. It genuinely upsets me, and I know, nobody knows more than me how pathetic a thing that is to say.
And that is why you made the adept decision to have the white American colonizer on that episode.
How? It's all right, Rhian. You don't. We're in a good place. We're in a good place.
We're in a
Um,
good place. Hi.
I should. Yeah, I really should. Who's a couple that we've got in like our vicinity that needs to break up because
It needs to break up.
because like the golden curse is just getting them on a podcast episode. Like Will and Becky on 500 Days of Summer. Finn
I
and
feel like it's correlation, not causation, because this podcast has been here since the beginning of time. So obviously things are going to change. Lives are going to drift.
I know. I mean, we recorded the company episode, me and Will, when I was in a happy, well, relationship month, in a happy month, and I was like, it'd be so terrible if we recorded this when I was single again, and
So
then
then we did it again.
so then
Just
I
to
did a
on that.
bonus company episode. Um, yeah, no, the podcast is thriving. We're on our, I don't know, 200th, more than 200 episodes.
Oh, definitely more than 200.
The Holdovers. Is it wrong to say that it's the sort of film that's really good and really satisfying and really tender, but there's not that much to say? I'm throwing that in as like a hot take, but which I don't actually believe. But
yeah, and I would say no, because again, you've got this like
I know.
political undercurrent that you don't really have with Dead Poets Society, other than the fact that it's kind of like it's that cultural rise and fall of like, okay, this is a period where like the youth are hedonistic again, and like they want to like fight
I wouldn't
back
say
against
it's
their parents.
hedonistic to
No,
read
but like
some poems
you
in
know
a
what I mean,
cave.
like, but you know what I mean, like, so like the 50s is all about like building up the economy after the war, and then like you go into counterculture of like, okay, we're rebelling against that
It's a very political movie, that.
prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously then you got the 80s again, which then it becomes again about like being a boss and like maximizing your wealth and individualism and all that.
Have you thought
Anyway,
about doing a history podcast?
yeah, I should.
We're going to do a mini series on the 80s about being a boss.
Being a boss. um, but no, like I feel like this hits the mark in a more clear, like direct sense of like, you know, we're talking about the relationship between like privilege and like all these boys that they've never had to worry about a thing in their lives, like versus like the ones that have had to struggle and have had to fight and are only allowed admittance to college through things like the GI Bill, which is still around today and is absolutely barbaric, and I can talk about it freely. But yeah, like I thought it really just like hit those marks again in not a preachy way, in not a, oh, we're gonna have a history lesson now, shoehorned into this drama. Like it was just done so well, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Do you have any negative points for the holdovers? Because I don't really think I do, but I also wouldn't say I don't think when I give my review that I'm going to give this 10 out of 10. That's where I'm kind of at. You know what I mean? Like I say 10 out of 10. I don't know, for like movies that transcended me. And I do think that I'm going to give it 9. But I don't have anything really wrong with it, but then again I
If you
gave
just say,
Jackass
like,
10 out of 10. Yeah.
yeah, like what is this arbitrary scale? I like I don't know whether you just found like the vibe of it, like it wasn't seated as like an iconic film.
No, the vibe. I love this vibe. I infamously love this vibe. It's the same reason I thought that Ruby was just gonna like boring white man me and just be like, oh, it's the 70s. Of course you're happy. Oh, is it like those old 70s movies that you like? Oh,
Do you know
of
what?
course.
I think if Paul and that woman had been able to get together at the end, you would have given it a 10.
You have no understanding of me in any way, shape, or form. Do you what you think that I would have preferred to have it? That's bullshit. I love sad endings. Do you not think the minute that the husband came in the door, I was like, yeah, this is going to be one of my films of the
What did
year.
you say? Um, when Paul Giamatti like had that reaction, Vivi said, "I've seen Tom make that exact face."
What? Get back on the pod. Lose your emails. What did you in what you see Tom make that exact in what situation? In what
There's a video where you make that exact face.
We're at like a house party. I'll
There's a
I'll show it to you
video?
when we cut. Yeah, I'll show it.
What,
To
you have it?
Yeah, and your glass eye is like spinning. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
It's this one. It's this
Yeah,
one.
the eye. Not his. Yeah, Googled it halfway through. Not his real eye.
Sorry, so you thought that Paul Giamatti has had
I
a full
don't
glass
watch
eye
a
his
lot of Paul
entire career?
Giamatti stuff. I think he's
Oh,
great, but I would not have been able to. I would not have known that instantly.
I
Peter Falk had a glass eye.
I thought, wow, this is a bit mean. They've cast the guy with the eye, and then they've said, let's add that into the plot and have lots of mean jibes about it.
I just
Is it better or worse that it's fake, considering that they make all these like jokes?
My sister had a conversation with me the other day. I can't remember. We were watching a movie or something, and they were like, "Look at that big fat hog," and she was like, how do you cast roles like that?
Yes, I think about this all the time because there's a girl on Twitter. She was like, I got cast as like a supporting actress in this like college film, and they just had me walk across the camera while like the main characters were talking, and then she watched the final cut, and it was like, all the girls at this school are uggos, and it's like, what? Like, how do you even? Yeah, how do you cast those things?
Like that. You don't
Well,
tell them.
like in secret, I guess. But like when they're more prominent, like
I don't know.
roles.
Well, I mean, I'm doing The Whale later this year, which I never expected. I hate The Whale. I hate The Whale so much. I don't know. Oh, I just didn't want to
I
do.
can't wait for that episode to come out because like, oh, it's gonna be so good.
So okay, we've got 10 minutes left to talk about the holdovers. And then I get to see a video of me being sad. Yeah, I'm surprised. Am I trying to be controversial? Because I'm not being trying to be controversial at all. But this feels in so many ways like if you watch this movie, you would think, oh, this is going to be Tom's favorite movie of the year, surely.
Mm.
So I don't
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm brushing up against. I think I prefer
Well, like
Election.
it's not as kind of in your face as some of the other ones. Like it's not as like groundbreaking or like the first of its time or like
No, but that doesn't bother me. I my favorite director for
yeah.
my
I
sins
mean,
is Woody Allen, who made the same movie 50 times, you know.
yeah. And I mean like I love a character driven piece. Like I love those films that don't need to be about anything. So I knew
Made
this was gonna
December.
be up my street. I'll give it a chance, okay?
It got nominated for original screen. It's not gonna well, let's talk about original screenplay, an incredibly stacked category. Can I do it off the top of my head? Holdovers, May December, Past Lives, Anatomy of a Fall, and Barbie's an adapted, American Fiction's adapted, Oppenheimer's adapted. Oh my God, what am I missing? What's the fifth? They're saying Maestro's original.
Maestro's original.
Isn't it based off like Bernstein, My Life, My Music, My Bisexuality or something?
God knows. It's just like
Don't turn on Maestro because you sat next to Ruby.
no,
Don't you
no. I'm
dare
just
turn
saying
on Maestro.
the categories, the
Yeah.
way they choose like for the categories is so random.
Yes, again, I'm very much enjoying this being like your first. I'm going to get into the Oscars, and you getting angry at things that like I've come to terms with for years. Like,
Yeah.
I so just say him again. Sorry, Past Lives, Anatomy of a Fall, Maestro. Maestro's not going to win.
Maestro, Holdovers, and May December.
May December's not going to win, and that's fine. Because
Your
it didn't.
Mank this year. It is.
Oh, but Mank, it's not my Mank because Mank got nominated for more than one thing. And there was the possibility of Mank actually winning things because it was COVID. And oh, God
And
bless.
nothing else good was on.
David Fincher, the absolute king, on the BAFTAs, because it was all Zoom. Every time Mank lost something, he took a shot. And that is why David Fincher is the best. No, May December's incredible. What we were talking about, the holdovers. Do you think it wins Best Original Screenplay? I don't think it. It's the one chance they've got to. It's not the one chance, but it's the one chance solidly that they've got to award Anatomy of a Fall something. And more importantly, it's. I think they're going to give it to Past Lives.
Fall is up for Best International as well.
No, because The Taste of Things, a French film, got nominated because each country is only allowed to. This is more Oscar bullshit, Rhian. Each country is only allowed to nominate one film for itself. And they chose this Juliette Binoche movie about cookery called The Taste of Things, which apparently is very good. But they chose that before everyone was like, oh, Anatomy of a Fall is great. And so they put forward The Taste of Things, but The Taste of Things didn't even get into the Oscar nominees. So Zone of Interest is a lock for that one.
Sure. Sure. I don't know. I think I don't want to speak on it until I've seen the other three, but I do I like I think it's great. And considering it's the only real category that it could like win for, other than Paul.
I think
or
Paul and
Ryan.
versus Killian is a tighter race than we think.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to Bradley. Ruby will be happy to hear. She hates classical music and she hates the gays.
No, and here's the thing. I work with a lot
No,
of
I
classical
love classical music.
like everybody I work with is like classical music, woo, opera. I haven't met anybody I work with yet who's like, I like Maestro.
Wow.
Putting that out there.
Yes, no, we all know that.
Classical scene.
Again, we all know that nobody likes Maestro. I'm very well aware, and I don't like the bullying of Bradley.
Our baby boy Bradley.
Why Ruby Cam? Why did you say the phrase, of course you liked Maestro?
Of course you like Maestro. It's an old man film.
This is an old man film. This is an older man film.
No, this isn't everyone film.
Fun.
This is an intergenerational.
This is an intergenerational film that if it came out in 1973 and starred like, I don't know, Martin Balsam, you'd be like, and I said, oh guys, do you want to watch The Holdovers? You'd be like, suck dick, Tom, fuck off.
Because I think what The Holdovers does well, even though it emulates the style of the 70s, it doesn't do it fully, because if it did, then the pacing would be all over the place, and like it would probably.
It's too bold a statement, really.
Well, you know what
Not
I mean.
to be
like,
rude, not to be
like,
rude, but there's
cinema's
many
come
well
along-
paced.
Cinema has come a long way, and like we don't have, in some ways, the luxury of like just having a scene with like the cameras in one place and they talk for about 5 minutes and then it fades into something else. Like
Maestro,
yeah, Maestro.
yeah, hit in your heart.
But even Maestro, like we talked for at length about the cinematography choices and how they had to vary it up to keep it interesting. And so yeah, I think it feels reminiscent of the time without being fully like this could be a film from the 70s. Like it still feels modern in its ability to like keep people's attention.
I completely agree. It's an incredibly well paced film. And yeah, I don't think I would cut anything. And there is a lot that could be cut. Like
But
there
I
is
wouldn't, because
I wouldn't. I
feel
agree.
such an attachment to everything. Even you know, this, like you said, the stuff with the group at the beginning, and like you think it's going to go one way for like a good 20 minutes. I think it was just it was a clever like pulling the rug out from under us of like, okay, you think you know how this, like the trajectory of this, like enemies, not enemies to lovers, enemies to friends film.
Well, that would be the 2023 version, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, The Holdovers is a beautiful, tender film that I will be giving 9 out of 10 and sits firmly in Alexander Payne's canon. Well, wait a minute. Well, this is the prime example, isn't it? Now that you've enjoyed The Holdovers, will you go back and watch Sideways, a movie from 2004 or whatever?
I think I would. I mean, I've got a list 1.5 miles long of this year's features to watch, but it has definitely put Alexander Payne on my radar.
Election's a movie that you will adamantly. We could do Election Redux. The Redux is a dangerous thing. We've got Heartburn Redux coming later in the year, which we're doing Heartburn again with Rhian because she recently finished the book. And so I thought, oh, I'll do Heartburn again. Why not? But it's a dangerous thing because we could.
Slippery slope. It is.
I could do Election again because it's one of the first 10. So it was like a little bit sloppy. Do you remember Amelia, American Amelia?
I do.
She was on that.
Wow.
Yeah. Great episode. Or was it? I can't remember. Amelia just spent the whole time being like, I am Tracy Fleck. Anyway, the wonderful Holdovers. Ruby, any final comments?
Sorry, I was just asking you something really confusing. Last thoughts. Love it. Great time. Big fan.
And it's
Love them all.
this one. You need to look at.
Very sad, very sad. Any. So that was Ruby's final comments on Maestro. Rhian, your final comments on the Holdovers?
If someone doesn't sing in you, then nothing sings.
Yeah, if someone doesn't sing in you, then the Holdovers. If you don't have a heart, then you won't enjoy the Holdovers.
If the snow doesn't fall outside your window, then it's not winter and you're not lonely enough.
That's why it got nominated for original screenplay.
Ba 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 ba.